So good morning again. So we are here in the Europe-Africa region right now and starting the first panel, 60-minute panel, five study design based research approach to co-design and institutional AI digital assistant. So it is Open University institutional member feature. So I'm happy to announce this panel, but also announce that Bart is here with us, and of course Bart is the president of Solar, and he's going to be the to chair this panel. So Bart, the floor is yours, and we are looking forward to the great panel and discussion.
Great, thank you so much, Blaženka. So, what we are going to present today is a big piece of work we're currently doing at the Open University. Open University is probably the largest university in Europe. It's a distance learning university, and obviously everyone is involved with AI. So we're presenting this together with Emily Coughlan, Felipe, Tessarolo, and Thomas Ullmann, who will talk in a minute, and we'll introduce them when they start their slides. But as you can see on the top, there are lots of people involved that are building this approach. And why are we doing this? Well, we're all, I guess everyone is using Gen AI, but in the most recent report by Just Freeman, who reviewed the use of Gen AI among students in the UK, they found, and this is not showing, that 88% of students are currently using Gen AI to prepare or work with or to submit assignments. So obviously we don't know whether OU students are doing the same, but a lot of students are using Gen AI like ChatGPT to work on assignments. And yeah, that could be great. It could also be a concern. And we think it is really important to prepare our students for, well, the future of the workforce. So our aim is to make sure that we provide an AI support for our students that fits their needs. So we will talk you through a approach that we've been working on for now 18 months about how can we involve students and staff in building such a tool and approach. And then the big question is, should you as an institution actually develop your own Gen AI approach? So what I will do is there's lots of opportunities for interaction, but every time when there is an orange screen, this basically prompts us to speak aloud or to use the chat. So just to get everyone prepared, I'm just wondering, does anyone know who this person is? It's 8 o'clock in the morning, Europe, 7 o'clock, 7:15 in the UK. Does anyone know who this person is? No idea. Well, Felipe knows it, but I gave a very similar talk 2 weeks ago in Barcelona, and there were mostly Americans at that conference, and none of the Americans knew who this person was. Does anyone know who this person is? You can just turn on your mic. Also no idea.
Obviously some football player, but I'm not some older one.
Yes.
Gary Lineker or something like that. I'm not sure.
Ooh, Blaženka. He's wearing a Dutch T-shirt, so it must be a Dutch player.
Okay.
Malice, do you know this?
No idea.
Oh, no idea. Okay, well, okay. It's, I think, the greatest footballer in Europe, at least, and according to me. It's Johan Cruyff, and he invented the Dutch way of playing, and he's been very influential. Anyway, it doesn't matter because it's started for 10. Because the next question, let's get linking it back to AI again. Does anyone recognize this model? I see Malice nodding. Is anyone using this model in their practice? So it's a famous model by Swarovski Richter. And what they try to do is to classify how Gen AI is being used across the globe. And there is on the left-hand side a focus on profiling. There is a focus on, for example, dropout and retention. Then there's a lot of work on AI focusing on intelligent tutoring systems. So, for example, teaching content, giving automatic feedback, for example, creating learning materials. And then there's a focus on using AI for assessment and evaluation. And then there is a focus on adaptive systems and personalization. And when we, for example, looked at the Open University in 2024, there was lots of good evidence from previous studies that were also published at LAC proceedings about the use of a system called OU Analyze. And we've done a lot of work in terms of dropout and retention and student models. And there is also some good work in terms of providing feedback using AI. And there is some early work in working on teaching content and providing and creating learning materials. If we now look at 2025, where we're currently at, it seems that suddenly a lot of activities are happening at the Open University, where we're actually already providing automatic content generation, diagnostic feedback, understanding how students are engaging, and providing lots of support. So within a year's time, a lot of things have changed, and we would want to share this with you. And what we did, and in order to move this forward, we started, of course, with our students. Oh, sorry, this is the wrong slide. So in December 23, we showed initially just a group of 10 Open University students. We showed them a possible future of what AI might look like for them. So we showed them examples of flashcards, we showed them a digital tutor, and then we discussed with them, okay, how would that feel for you? Would you feel comfortable? Would this be useful or not? So by discussing these broad open ideas, we then talked with the students to identify what were the key features that they would expect from such an AI digital assistant. So for example, one student said, oh, I think 24/7 support would be really good because we all work at very different times, and the AI tutor should be related to course materials. So if I have a question about X, where can I find it? Another student talked about, well, I'm not a native English speaker, so it would be really useful if an AI digital assistant could help me with addressing some of the learning materials. And another student, for example, indicated that it was difficult for her to revise, and something like those flashcards would be quite useful. So based on the conversations and a follow-up survey, we identified kind of 4 themes from the students in terms of the kind of activities that students were looking for, like they wanted to have a real-time assistance and query solution. So at this moment in time, our students have a dedicated so-called associate lecturer, and that associate lecturer supports the student throughout their module. And of course, this associate lecturer is a great support, but like real humans have to sleep, and humans might do other things. And that's basically then an AI assistant could potentially support the student. The second theme is personalization and accessibility. And how could ADA be personalized to the individual needs of the students? We know so much about our students because everything is online, and we do a lot of learning analytics approaches. We know exactly where the student is in their journey, and we also know and we can predict where our student probably will go next. And if you give this information potential to an AI digital assistant, that would be really powerful. The third element mentioned by students is the support for academic tasks, like, for example, providing feedback, summarizing, helping with grammar. And then the last one links to emotional and social support. And this theme led to a kind of more mixed bag. Some students absolutely would love this, to be able to talk to a system that is a kind of a friend, and others felt that this was really kind of worrying for them. So at the same time, of course, there are loads of issues about such an AI assistant. And one student, for example, expressed that this might just be replacing humans. She found it very concerning. Another student said, "What is my work is rubbish." And so what would happen if my work is being used as the standard for the AI training? And then another student was worried about what would happen to his children in a later time, because lots of things being automated. What kind of roles would they have in the near future? So we summarized it in a range of themes linked from academic integrity to ethical and social implications, the data privacy use, and the future of education. So this was the first study that we did in December 23, and based on the initial conversations, then we started to address, okay, what can we do to make sure that we provide a safe space for our students to work with AI, but at the same time address some of the concerns that were listed by students. And one of the ideas we were considering is to perhaps provide a kind of walled garden where we as an institution would develop our own institutional AI digital assistant that would allow students and educators to really securely use and trust their AI assistant, because we have so much data about our students, and we probably don't want to give all this very sensitive data to publicly available institutions. So I'm going to share another screen, another orange screen, and that is basically just a moment of pause, perhaps from some interaction. So I'm just wondering, in the room, is there anyone that is considering this similar debate, whether you're going to just give everything publicly available, so you allow your students to use whatever they have on online, or are you more inclined to use an institutional kind of ADA approach? And there's no right and wrong on this. I'm just wondering if there are any thoughts on this. So does anyone want to speak about this? And feel free to just raise your hand if you want to speak, or just turn on your microphone.
So speaking from the IU International University, one of the claimed also biggest online universities, I can say that using AI tools is just allowed, and we have to accept it. It's actually encouraged by all the universities.
Yep.
And there are internal tools which are considered safer, and where actually every answer is supposed to be checked by a lecturer. Otherwise, there is the encouragement to use Copilot or ChatGPT or any Claude, any of the bigger tools, and that means that for the assessment there is some adjustments needed. But if you are personalized enough, if you are dynamic enough, it's not so hard so far.
Great, thank you for that sharing. Oh, anyone else? Don't be shy.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Hi, yes, my name is Renner. I work with learning analytics, which with implementation in Norway, and we're sharing a chatbot with another Norwegian university, and this one is developed by them, so it's sort of it's kind of lagging behind the industry standards, so it's not preferred by the students at all. And so my question really was, how do you experience that, having this walled garden, building everything, fencing against everything else, does that make your students prefer your walled garden to the industry standard, or are they still, looking elsewhere for their services?
Yeah, great question. Obviously, we don't restrict our students as well to use publicly available AI approaches, but we do make it very explicitly, for example, in assignments, what they can and cannot use. So we're not restricting people. We're probably in a kind of hybrid format between the two, but in particular for our learning materials and content, this is where we're kind of in this journey at this moment where our studies, which I'm going to talk about next, seem to suggest that students seem to be much more confident that if we would build that AI approach, they would feel more comfortable with that. But let's talk through some of those. So, in a way, what Thomas in the next couple of slides will talk about. Sorry, Felipe and Emily will talk about first, because we're going to do a quick demo of what it looks like, and then afterwards Thomas will talk us through some of the slides. So what you see here is a kind of iterative process where, working with students and staff, we continuously refined our ADA approach. So it's not that we built one perfect system and then launched it live. No, we iterated this with the students and continuously asked them what they would like and how we could further refine that. So I think it's now over to Felipe and Emily, right? In terms of actually showing some of the work. Felipe, you want to share the screen? Let me just stop sharing, I think.
Yeah, I'm hopefully going to be able to share my screen. I've sent a request, so hopefully that will work. Can everyone see my screen?
No, I gave the permission.
Lovely, thank you. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Wonderful. So just to show you, I've landed on our Open page for taking your teaching online, and we have embedded the AI tool within the pages. So as you scroll down, you come to Ada and the digital assistant, and this is where you land on the chat page. So when you use chat function, you can ask a question to the assistant. So can you break down or create a study plan for me? That will be a good example. Can you create a study plan? And if you watch, the AI assistant is generating and it responds pretty fast, and it comes up with a answer for your question. And also a feature that we have is that it will tell you where it has pulled this information from within our content from the OU. So that's the chat function, and that kind of acts like a tutor. We then have explain, and this tends to give a more academic based answer. So if you're looking at some content, I'll just scroll up just to have a look and talk about the week that it's talking about some OER, so Open Educational Resources. I'm going to ask, can you explain OER in more detail? So tell me what you know already. So what it does is going to expand on those questions. So let's say, let's give it I'm not sure. Let's see what happens. So let's see if it can, there we go. So we've got a basic answer that has started the, giving you the information that's requested. So that's the explain function. And then challenge function will give you, the way I see it is more like a friend or a peer, and you're talking about the content. So you're having a discussion about the content that you're looking at. So again, I want to discuss, spelling mistakes. It's always when you're under pressure to show your spelling.
Actually really good with spelling mistakes. So
yeah, yeah. I want to discuss OER, just as so the question, again, it's a slightly different angle from the explain. It says what aspects of OER interest you the most. So maybe if we put something like accessibility, see what they say. Thank you. And again, it's like more conversational, I believe, this one. So just an example of how that works. So that's our 3 kind of like different chat functions. We also have a quiz. And this quiz is based on the content on the page that the student would be learning. So it will open, I'm going to whiz through a quiz, so please don't judge my understanding of the content, but just to show you that you can change your answer, you can click on multiple, and you can just select and run through these quiz answers, and then as you submit, the AI tool will deliver a response and break down every part of the answers and tell you what you have got right and why you got it right, and also giving you some feedback on those answers. So that's our quiz function. And then I think Bart mentioned earlier about the revision aspect and students having access to something like a flashcard. So this is the Ada's version of that. So as you can see, let's revise. They've got some tools, so there's some flashcards here, and you can hover over them and they can change. And you can then directly ask a question to the tool based on the flashcards and the revision aspect of the tool. I'm trying to whiz through. So the next part to show you, and another part that's quite cool, is that we have a dynamic text function, and you can rephrase, you can expand, you can simplify, and you can then directly ask Ada a question about that part of the content. So for example, if I ask the tool to rephrase here, the tool will rephrase it in a different way. And then if we move on, if I want to expand, the tool can do that for me as well. And there we are. And then again, it always shows you where it got the source from. So again, reassuring students where this answer has come from. And then simplify. It's a small paragraph to simplify, but it's done it really well. So yeah, just to show you. And then I guess if I show you, you can easily just go back to the original text and cancel what you did if you want to go back to the original the original text. I think that's a whistle-stop tour of our Ada.
Yeah, thank you so much. And what is really nice also that it's completely based on OU content. And it also knows if you're in studying week 8, it will look at mostly the activities at week 8. But if you're thinking, oh, give me the answer in week 25, it won't do that because it knows that you're actually studying in week 8. So it's really, I think, powerful. So if I reshare the slide deck, and I'm happy for Felipe, I can move the slides forward for you if you want to. So because this, of course, looks very interesting and quite polished, but obviously we didn't start with a very polished design. So Felipe, how did we get there?
Thank you, Bart. So I'm Felipe. I work as a learning and teaching enhancement manager with my colleague Emily in the IT. And in this role, we collaborate with the academics analyzing data, doing some interviews. And on this phase, on phase 1, we we began with a small sample of 10 distance learning students, and each of them from the 4 OU faculties like STEM, Faculty of Business and Law, Well-being, Education and Language, and Art and Social Science. And the students, they watched a brief demo of our AI prototype. Then they participate in an interview and completed a short follow-up survey. This phase helped us focus on individual experience and first impressions of the assistant. After that, phase 2 followed in May 2024, and scale up the study. We invited 2,000 students to complete an online survey, and 96 responded. And again, they were from across the 4 faculties. And this large data set allow us to understand how widely the findings from phase 1 that Bart mentioned about the features, which kind of things they were looking for in this kind of tool were shared, and whether any new patterns have emerged. And throughout both phases, we introduced the same AI concept, like a digital assistant designed especially for you students. And these two together help us define like key expectations, benefits, and concerns. Can we go to the next slide, please, Bart? And sorry, I forgot to mention the students saw, could you come back? Just, sorry, Bart, I just forgot to mention that there was this screen on the right is the image we share with the students, and this avatar, this professor was AI generated and could just explain some of the AI, the features for the students during this process. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so now I will talk about numbers. I think we all love numbers. So building on that foundation, we then explored why students might prefer an institutional assistant of public tools like ChatGPT. And their response were remarkable, consistent. Across both phases, students identified these 5 main reasons in this order, like 24/7 availability and immediate feedback, the user experience and interface design, language and accessibility, accuracy and specificity, and personalization and relevance. So 73% agree that access academic support at any time would enhance their student experience. Is like there's some in this this online environment. Sometimes the student need to send an email to the tutor to ask questions, and this using this tool, is much more faster to take out a doubt about some content or just ask a question, a specific question. 71 highlighted the importance of AI that being embedded with the OU platform. As one student explained, that this is like a sort of enclosed and more protective AI rather than something that is just out of there for anyone or anything. And this as my colleague Emily mentioned, for example, in this feature on the ADA, you could see that the response that ADA do is directly related to that page of content. It's not like you asking ChatGPT about what is OAR, and we'll give you a widely response about that. 75% appreciate the potential for multilingual and accessibility features. We had some students who, like me, whose first language is not English, and they really appreciated how this could support their study. 76.7 valued the use of OU curated materials to ensure more accurate and relevant responses. And finally, 70% supported personalized feedback as long as clear boundaries were in place. As one participant noted, is the quote on the right, like AI can support study skills, but counseling should be left to human beings. They were very clear that they didn't remove the human, the tutor in this loop. So while students were generally positive, they clearly wanted a solution that is academically grounded easy to access, and used responsibly within the EU context. And the next slide, please, Bart. And here we are talking about some concerns the students raised about this tool, and they were consistent again across both phases of the study. And 5 key areas emerged was academic integrity, ethical and social implications, data privacy and use, operational challenge, and future of education. And thinking about the numbers on the second phase, 8% of the students said the academic integrity was the top concern. They were worried about potential misuse of AI in completing assignments or plagiarism. 76 students highlight ethical and social implications, particularly the risk of dehumanizing education and losing the human connection. One student expressed this clear, like the reductive dumbing down and homogenization of education, the loss of individuality, nuance, originality, imagination. So they were concerned about that. 71 flagged the data privacy and use with students seeking great clarity about how their data would be handled. One student mentioned that there should be a continual discussion about not just how the university will or will not use the data, but also if and how any service use might harvest that data, if, like, for example, if this would be shared with third-party tools or something outside the institution. 77 mentioned operational challenges, including concerns about reliability and unintended impacting on learning. And finally, 75 experts concerns about the future of education, including the need to rethink teaching and assess methods in response to AI integration. And these results, they remind us while students see value in institutional AI, they want safeguards in place, like to protect academic standards, privacy, and the human elements of learning. So now I will pass along to my colleague Emily that will show us the first part of the phase 3. Thank you.
Hi again, everybody. So phase 3 was then a further development of what we had already done. As Bart had said, we were building, and as the diagram at the bottom says, we are building and keep moving along with this study. So this part was 2 parts. And part A involved 211 students completing an online survey to assess the assistance effectiveness at scale. And part B focused on a more in-depth evaluation with 20 staff and PhD students testing ADA. And we used a pre-pilot survey and a think aloud protocol to capture real-time user interaction and insights. And this gave us much more rich thematic data. So just to show you on the slide, this was a historical capture of our ADA. Seems like a world away now, but this is what we started with, and this is what the participants of this phase of the study were greeted with when they used our tool. But as you can see, there's still functionality there, and still the ability to ask questions, and we had a quiz as well. But as I showed you earlier, we've come a long way since then. So yeah, if you'd like to show us the next slide. With the enhancements of our study, their feedback was used to improve Ada in real time. So as we were getting feedback, we were able to make additional changes and update it. And what came out of this was some really interesting emergent thematic themes. And on the screen, you can see personalization and relevance was really important to our students, and participants appreciated that the AI tools tailored responses to their specific needs and learning goals. The 24/7 availability and immediate feedback was valued for being accessible at any time and providing instant responses. With regards to language and accessibility, some users highlighted how AI helped overcome language barriers and make content more accessible. Accuracy and specificity. There were mixed views on the precision of AI-generated content. Some found it helpful and others noted some inaccuracies. Ethical use, concerns were raised about responsible use of AI, especially in academic context. And the user experience and interface design, participants emphasised the importance of intuitive and user-friendly interfaces. And with regards to academic integrity and plagiarism, there were discussions about how the AI might impact originality and academic honesty. And data privacy, users expressed concerns about how their data is stored and used by AI systems. And future orientation and career planning, some participants saw AI as a tool for exploring career paths and preparing for future roles. So all of this data is extremely valuable to the research team as we moved forward and developed the tool. And then if you wanted to show me the next slide, perfect. So again, just to reiterate that overall, I think the key message here is that the students preferred AIDA. So 57.3% of phase 3A participants preferred AIDA compared to 51% in phase 2. And reasons for preferring AIDA is the accuracy and specificity. So a real kind of hero in that is that we've gone from 67% to 73%. Availability and immediate feedback between the phases are, that one went down slightly, but again, not notably. Everything else was a increase. So user experience and usability, our agreement went up by 1%. Language and accessibility, again, went up by 1%. And then personalization and relevance, again, went up by 1%. So we've had improvements on the development throughout, which is really positive. And just to pull out a student voice in terms of our kind of our hero in the accuracy and specificity is our key reason and our preferred top ranking preference. Student mentioned that it could allow the student to see what I understand or not in the course and use it to revise and investigate the subject in more depth. So that's me.
Hi, so yeah, this is my part. Hi, I'm Thomas Ullmann. I'm a lecturer in the Institute of Educational Technology. So seeing we have an orange slide, so we have a chance to exchange some ideas. And so you have already heard a lot about what students think about an AI digital assistant. And you have already seen a demo of the ADA and what students can do. But looking from your side, from the staff side and the teacher side, what requirements would you like to be fulfilled within ADA? What do you want from a digital assistant for your students? And yeah, where would you see opportunities and what challenges can you foresee? So I'm opening the floor. Or pause a bit, what you can think about these questions, and can also use the chat. But yeah, if you think from the feet of a teacher, There's already one contribution. Great, thank you, Paul. React to wrongness. Yes, that's a very good one. Also knowing that ChatGPT often tabulates.
Right, but there is a trade-off. So this is a duty of the lecturer. But if the students don't tell us that there are bizarrenesses, then you miss the wrongness, and then the wrongness, lands in the brains. So this is pretty dangerous, I think.
Mm. Yeah, so teachers can capture that and react to it appropriately. Blashenka, thank you. Not to offload too much from the students.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that it is sometimes we are missing that to learn means also that you should practice, you should take different approaches. So a little help is always welcome. But what about if it is just serving or spoon feeding? So yeah, I'm concerned with that. Otherwise, I really like the idea, and especially like your institutional approach and very systematic way how you develop and. Yes. And what are the further plans for AIDA?
Oh yes. So first, thanks for responding to the first part. Yes, indeed, this is about stretching students, right? To just keep them in the right zone of development, really, to stretch them. And then the other question is, can an AI assistant do similar things like teachers can do? Great answer. I think I'm moving on to your second part of your question. A few more slides about what we then actually did to come then to the current state of the AIDA. Let's see, there's another question about the non-cognitive aspects of learning. Yes, that's very good. That's a very good question about the emotional support and other important issues that we have to deal with if we think about an artificial intelligence for assisting students. Right. So if you go one slide back, but oh no, okay, we're already there. All right. So just to recap, so we were in phase 3, which was about the 211 students, but we also parallel tested when the alpha version of AIDA with 20 members of staff. So we asked them about what they think about AIDA. In this case, AI was embedded in an existing course in a test environment. The staff members were experts in EdTech, but also in AI, but they were not directly involved in the actual design of the AIDA. They had to fill out a questionnaire, and we screen recorded them while we were working through several tasks which aimed at simulating an authentic scenario for them. And from the analysis of the surveys, which you can see here in the table, you can see that staff members had significantly more experience of GenAI in general and in education in particular relative to students. And overall, we're more positive about wanting to have an AIDA, which is interesting. At the same time, staff saw more challenges with AI, which might indicate with their expertise on EdTech and AI that they're already aware of some of the affordances, but also challenges that such an AIDA approach could bring. The analysis of the screencast data revealed several themes, such around accessibility, technical issues, things about the tone of feedback or repetitive phrases, and several suggestions for improvement. So I just talk about two. For example, one concern we raised was about accessibility. With one participant noted that to me the layout feels quite dense. If I were a student with a learning difficulty, I would find it a bit overwhelming and Staff then suggested to add maybe FAQs or guided steps for topic-related help, but overall I think that also highlights that we have to, when we design such a tool, we have to emphasize accessibility from the start. Another theme was about around potential uses of AI for students, and staff indicated that an ADA could help students, for example, to prepare for assignments and help them with their understanding. Here's a quote from one of the students, if you could go back, Bart, which basically here indicates that the feedback of the AI should help students to deepen their knowledge by providing them with a quiz to assess what they have learned so far. So there's a requirement for the AI to, in the right moment, test their knowledge to deepen their understanding of concepts. Good. Next slide, please. When we come already a bit more, we come to phase 4, which happened in January. In phase 4, we had a beta version of ADA, which we shared under controlled condition with around 18 students. And this version of ADA had now updated chunking strategies for the chat, an updated conversation starter for the different roles, like the Socratic tutor or personal tutor, updated retrieval strategy, with an improved flow of fluency of the chat as well, improved signposting to resources, and an introductory video was integrated in ADA to explain the basic functionality. We recruited 18 students from initially 85 participants, and we purposefully selected participants who had mostly negative attitude towards the ADA, and the other half from participants who had mostly positive attitude towards the AI and also a high AI usage. And if we go to the next slide, overall what we can see from the survey data is that the participants were much positive about the ADA after engaging with it. 16 of them agreed that an ADA would be useful for their studies, and post-test results indicated an increase in a positive perception, particularly for those learners who were not so positive about the ADA initially. We also found that participants found an ADA more useful than a general tool like ChatGPT. Next slide, please. So from the qualitative feedback from the transcripts of the interviews and of the screencasts of the ADA, we have several strengths and areas of improvements to highlight. A thematic analysis revealed several themes. The most common was around ADA features with a mix of positive, neutral, and some negative feedback. And the second most common theme was related to how ADA could enhance student engagement and motivation, with predominantly positive remarks. And the third key theme was about more technical performance and areas of future refinement. I'm just talking now about in depth a bit about the first feature, which is about ADA features. There are several features. One of them is the introductory video and the chat functionality, but I will not talk about the other features like quizzes or flashcards. So the introductory video, which served as the first task, was generally perceived as informative and engaging. However, some participants raised concerns about the avatar, noting that they feel a bit unnatural and had a robotic tone. But despite these issues, the video sparked some curiosity and reinforced a first positive impression of the ADA as a course-specific assistant, which is clearly distinct from general AI tools like ChatGPT. Participants generally had a positive experience interacting with the chat. where described the responses as clear and detailed and well structured and supportive, and many valued in its structured response, the friendly tone and the course-specific guidance. With one noting it really feels like talking to an instructor. It's quite useful. But also some criticized the tool for being overly wordy or slow and suggested improvement in design and response speed. Right. Next slide, please. What we also did is we looked at the prompts that were entered by the students. Can think about prompts as an expression of thinking of students, are often questions that students have. So analyzing those prompts can help us understand better the need of students and their thinking. So here we collected 140 prompts entered by the students and then conducted a thematic analysis. And there were 4 major themes around learning support, course content, course information, and there was a theme about off-topic topics. The learning support theme summarized participants asking Ada for tips and tricks to learn effectively and in a structured way of learning. They wondered about effective time management strategies, for example, or how to best take notes or find a study buddy and so on. The course content theme concerned queries about the written course content, so the content of the web page where the Ada is embedded in. And students used it to get more information about course topics, but they also asked for help identifying key information, such as what would be the most important topic, or please give me key researchers, key names of the researchers in this field. The third theme was around course information, which captured general questions about the course. For example, students ask for more information about assessment, or is the quiz relevant to my final grade and so on. Will I be tested on materials of week 1 or workload of the course? They also ask about study goals and website navigation. And the fourth theme is around off-topic prompts. Couple of off-topic prompts really that were just completely unrelated to the course, such about the weather. And so what we can see from this analysis is that most topics are on topic, which is great, but also we're likely to get off-topic topics. So here's what's worth thinking about what to do with students that went off topic and how to redirect them back to the course. Next slide, please. So we are now currently in the 5th phase of the study. So this phase is about scaling up the participation rate and to test Ada more in the wild. We are using versions of 2 very successful Open Learn courses here at the Open University, and each course then consists of 2 versions, one with an Ada and one without. Currently, recruitment is ongoing, but so far we have already 105 students who had completed pre-tests, 85 students enrolled in one of the 2 Open Learn courses, 41 students are currently in the experimental condition and 44 in a control condition. And overall, we see good engagement with the 2 courses and the conditions. And we have already lined up another study around using Ada for induction, aiming at inviting around 2,500 students. Good, and I leave it here. Back to you, Bart.
Right. So, I mean, 1-minute summary is we think that in this systematic approach of working towards an institutional Ada, we think that Ada does have the potential to enhance learning experiences, and the 24/7 immediate feedback is probably the most required feature. And I think we now have a workable version that seems to work quite well. But one thing that is underlying the entire narrative, which may or may not be extremely explicit from our discussions, is that there's probably around 15% of students are really against this, which is quite interesting. But the vast majority of students, in particular students who perhaps are new to the Open University, seem to absolutely love this kind of feature. So yeah, there's lots of really good comments in the chat. I'm just going to pause. Obviously, I'm hoping that all of you will join Solar in Bergen next year, and the deadline for submission of papers is coming up very soon. So thank you so much, and thank you for the entire team for this amazing presentation. We have 6 minutes left for questions. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, Bart. So I think that yeah, you presented a wonderful piece of research, but also practical works, and it is really obvious how important it is to have a longer, you know, kind of an event that we can discuss much more in detail in comparison to the stuff that we have on the conferences that is very limited time. So we have a lot of questions in the chat still, so maybe if you would like to address some of them. For example, Maria, the last one about the features and the use of the tool to generate course content and so on. So this is the one here, the last one, I think Maria asked that.
Does anyone from the team want to start?
I think the tool was ingested with the course content, and for now we don't have the feature to upload material there. The idea is just to provide response for students using the course content. But one thing that we have developed is a course commentary document, because if you ask questions and the tool is just close to the course content, will be very repetitive, talking about the same content over and over again. So the course commentary is kind of a document that expand that. For example, if you think about the teaching online, it provides some examples for the tool, explain main concepts in a different ways. So it's a way that we can expand the way that to respond, but still we are controlling what the tool is talking about. Does that answer your question? Sorry.
Just to add, what we're currently also working on is to see whether or not we should link it to our core access papers. So we are organizing all the open access papers across the world. So it's 300 million papers, and it's core.ac.uk. And it's a decision that we eventually have to make in terms of what Thomas mentioned before. If it's a question which is not directly related to the course content, how far should we open up Ada to other content? And currently the option is we primarily are thinking about using that core research database because we don't want students necessarily to go to, you know, the World Wide Web or whatever. But it's an interesting challenge, and we don't know what's right. And I guess that's why we're doing continuously this design iteration to see what our students want and how they're actually prompting. So it's going to be really exciting to see in our experimental study what our students are actually talking to in terms of Ada. So it's going to be very exciting. We have lots of things to do in the summer. Yeah, Paul, there's nothing wrong with, of course, going to the World Wide Web and share information. And there's, of course, nothing wrong with that. But obviously, when, for example, Ada would give you an answer to the student and would use bad information, then, of course, it might seem that we, as the Open University, endorse that bad information. So that's, I guess, where the tension lies.
Mm. What about the autonomy of teachers to use how their course is going to be delivered, to choose between using Ada or not? Because it's a kind of autonomy. For example, if you, I don't know, teach mathematics, then probably, yeah, they're different than if you're teaching something from the political science or so on. So, yeah, what about that?
Big questions. To be honest, I don't know.
Yeah, it is always because if you have some kind of institutional approach, it was the same when we introduced LMSs as obligatory for all the courses to it was probably 15, 20 years ago. But then after that, some would say, but I don't like it. So, and students ask that we have a kind of a approach that is coherent. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what we've learned from the implementation of OU Analyze over the last 15 years with the predictive learning analytics is that successful applications start small with a couple of teachers, and gradually by learning, and what we're currently doing by learning with a couple of teachers, we gradually expand. Personally, I'm not in charge of this, of the Open University. If I would advise the Vice Chancellor, I wouldn't recommend, okay, this has to be compulsory for every teacher. We will have to gradually learn over time what's the best approach. But thankfully, I'm not in charge.
Yeah. You're happy right now, but you will see. Okay, so any further questions for Bart and the rest of the team here? Okay, if not, we are right on time. So our first 60-minute panel in the Europe-Africa, it seems that we are coming to the end of this. With this panel, we have a 15 minutes break, and after that we are continuing with a lot of new exciting further events and presentations. But right now, let me thank you once more to the presenters, because it was great start of your Africa regional event part.